Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you happen to be in this wonderful world of ours. This is our weekly program with Trina discussing any number of things, and we're going to change the topic a little bit this week and go to something that's very near and dear to a lot of people's hearts. I certainly know that I'm among them. That is procrastination, and within the context of maybe this being April 15th, which is tax day. Uh, I will just share with you uh, a small personal story and then hand it over to Trina. My name is Scott, incidentally. I had an electronic way of doing taxes for years and years and years, and I've been just so busy. I waited until 2 days ago to actually try and do my taxes, and I found out that the electronic method was totally useless. I had to go back to paper to find out all of the transactions I had for last year, but then was able to use technology to uh, transfer um, to digital form what was on paper and then to put it into spreadsheet. And I found out that it was so easy to do it that way. I'm no longer going to use the commercial version of keeping track of my finances. I'm just going to do it, an old-fashioned way and create my own spreadsheet from now on for my taxes. But boy, I was worried there for a while because I was I was jumping without a net. That's my story.
So
How about you, Trina?
tell us a little bit more. What did you use then to make that go around? Because that's what I ended up doing today too,
Okay.
going around.
Well, I had paper versions of all of my bank statements, so I put those through the scanner. So then that made a PDF of all of what I had on paper. I copied the relevant transactions. I copied them into a program that I have that extracts text from images, and then from that, all right, I was not going to admit this. I then asked artificial intelligence, Perplexity is the program I use, take this text and turn it into a table with 3 columns: date, description, amount. And then from there, I cut and pasted that into a spreadsheet. And then from the spreadsheet, I was able to identify which were business expenses. And then from there, I was able to complete my taxes.
Well, good for you. What my
Yeah.
situation is that I need to take an extension, as is my usual problem. And the sooner I pay my taxes, since I'm a senior, I am able to send them in, and in a couple of months, I get a return based on what I have paid last year. I have to get a statement from my town tax person to stamp and seal and sign and say, yes, Trina Paulus did pay this amount in property taxes. So then I can send it in after I do my tax return. So I've been doing that. And that's growing. Since my taxes are going up here in Montclair, New Jersey every year, it's a big help for me. And I will get thousands of dollars back. But I have to first do my tax forms. And so for somebody to, and then wait till close to October to do it is pretty ridiculous. I could have that money much earlier if I would do it. So my tendency to wait to the last minute hit me hard today because I too could not get on the IRS site to do this online without having my password and my identification set up for my payment online. But I've successfully done it these years before. So this was a problem for me. So I would have to start all over again, and I would have to bring all this identification and take a photograph of my driver's license and everything. I decided with this coming, this thing Scott and I do at 2:30, I couldn't manage all that. So I decided to do it the old-fashioned way. I looked up the tax form for extension. I printed it out. And after we're over here, I'm going to take it with a little check to pay something I might owe to the post office. So it's postmarked today, the 15th. So that's my workaround for that. So my computer situation, folks, and maybe you have the same problems once in a while, or maybe always, I'm having more and more problems. I'm running a Mac. I got my Mac when I broken my leg in 1997. And at that time, Macs were better for graphic artists, which I am and was. And so I learned a lot of things. I got up to date. That 10 years ago, I figure I was in the 5th grade with the computer knowledge. I had enough to do a lot of things with Photoshop and InDesign and publishing those, getting those things printed. And now I'm back in kindergarten. Adobe has changed so much and now asks $50 some dollars a month to be on the program. And it's not the same program as it was. And my Mac has changed so much. It's not the same Mac that I learned all this on. And a lot of my old stuff is now stuck in old Macs. So I'm looking for some serious help from Mac experts. Somebody came to help me who was a PC expert, and he wasn't going to let the Mac defeat him. Well, we didn't get very far. So I need a Mac person. So in the meantime, I do my workaround. I can get on my email. I can get on Zoom. I can do this with Scott once a week. And so I'm managing the very basics, but my ability to save and organize and find things again is very bad at the moment. So let me just go through the kind of day I've had. So I woke up in the morning. It was nice. It's nice today. It's cold, but it's nice. And it's not raining, which is a change for us here in New Jersey. We've had so much rain. And I think of the poor people around the world who don't have any rain, who are in parched situations. And we are just almost flooded all the time, including me in my backyard and my basement. And I'm so grateful when I hear my sump pump running that is pushing the water out instead of flooding my basement. So these are the things I'm grateful for. So I woke up this morning and was very grateful for God for another day, and I'd ask Jesus to see me through this day and help me make good priorities. So then I barely get that kind of wish out of my head when I have to run to the bathroom, because at 92, that's one of my things that I have to immediately get to the bathroom. And so then I did some other things, and then I discovered I've been looking for a Thai translation. That's what I've been doing. I mean, not the Thai translation, the contract with Thailand that we did in over 10 years ago, because they want to do the 3rd printing in Thailand. And it's been such a beautiful relationship with these young people that have inherited this project from the man who started this young leaders group over there that we're now working with. So my technical person who first did the Thai digital version is working with me, and we're back and forth. We just got something from Thailand today with some latest changes for them. And Jean will take those and give them back to them. So this back and forth. But I have so many of these beautiful jobs, so many that I'm overwhelmed. And I'm also going to have an exhibit of the art of Hope for the Flowers at our library in June, and we have to order the canvases for that. So all the size relationships have to be thought through and thought about and figured out what exactly the proportions should be and what sizes they should be, and to order a new traveling exhibit that's a different size, because the size we had before was the size of this great big image that you see in the background behind my statue. It's 30 by 40. That's too big. That was really a good size for the big space that we had 2 years ago, but it's not the kind of thing that can go in this hallway next to the auditorium in my public library. So that's on my mind, plus a whole bunch of translations. I have the Jewish translation here in my hands, and we need it checked, and that has not come through. And there's a problem with the Jewish and the Arabic and the Iranian Persian translation, is that they read from what we call the back, they call the front. And it's not right or wrong, but then the question that we're facing is, do we have to change all the pictures, all the black files and all the yellow files? Each page has to be with the pictures reversed as well as the text going the correct direction. So these are the kinds of problems I run into, and have problems like this, new ones sort of every day. So I almost look forward to doing dishes or cooking or cutting up potatoes or something simple like that, because my life is so complicated with all these thinking. So when we got closer to the time for this to happen, Scott emailed me and said, you can wait a little, but you don't have to get on at 2 o'clock like we usually do. So I took advantage to that. And I want to bring up, for whatever time we have left, I want to bring up what's going on in the world right now. It's so hard to talk about it, but we really need to talk about it. A friend called me 2 nights ago. Iran has just bombed Israel, period. She didn't know anything about Israel bombing the Iraqi consulate in Damascus, Syria, just before that. So there was no nuance. And so much of our news comes without nuance, without the story. And I'm thinking about the word provoked, provoked, provoked. Russia's unprovoked invasion of Ukraine. It's very important to think about how we might provoke things in our own lives by baiting somebody without realizing it, perhaps, but making it very difficult for them. And we have done that with Russia. I'm not defending Putin, but my gosh, we promised when the Berlin Wall came back, and it was written down, that we wouldn't move NATO 1 inch toward the Russian border. And instead, we have had 23 biolabs, which are really biological warfare labs in the Ukraine, 23 of them. We had armaments, and after the 2014 Iranian revolution that got out of a democratically elected president and put in our man, Zelensky, we then, since then, have killed 14,000 Russians who voted to join Russia, who spoke Russian, were part of the Russian Orthodox Church, and felt closer to Russia than they did to the West in the southeast part of Ukraine. So I call that a provocation thing that we need to look at. We don't seem to be very good at that. We like to decide that there's enemies who are all black and we are all white. And that's just such a dangerous way to think, instead of the sanctity of every human life, of everybody on earth. And we have to take positions. But now we have the problem about saying Iran has attacked Israel without saying the provocations that have happened. So to provoke, to provoke, to provoke. Let's not provoke people. Let's not provoke nations. Let's not tease China by sending our ships over there. Let's not do these things. Let's not play around with the possibility of nuclear war when people get too desperate. It's a nuclear bombing thing in the Middle East will not be in the Middle East alone. It'll be all over the world, because you don't keep radiation from traveling, even if it doesn't get further into the bigger powers. So I just feel we have to think about these things. And the theme that Scott latched onto, that is my own theme right now, is radical sharing, freely chosen. And I feel that that's a radical center, an active center, a committed center. It's not a lethargic center where people just, well, I'll go about my business and not care about any of this stuff. But it's the center that says, I will not go. I don't want a radical, I don't want a forced sharing. I want to choose. I don't want to be like a Chinese communist system where they have maybe forced sharing, but they haven't chosen it. I don't really like the pressure of this present capitalism, this sort of end run of capitalism right now, where we're forced to be consumers, and the discrepancy between the rich and the poor is as great as in Pharaonic Egypt. It's so offensive to life if you think about the equality of people. that some people have so much and some people have so little. So what do we do about that? So I think everybody should be with a group of local people and think globally about these things and commit themselves and learn how to grow food, for one thing, and learn how to utilize your energy better. And I do want to bring up a couple of my basic posters about this matter. This to me is one of them. These are the words of Archbishop Romero just a little bit before he was killed. He was shot in El Salvador in the early 1980s. No soldier is obliged to obey command which goes against the law of God. And boy, if we took that seriously, things would chop right away. And the people are making money from all this violence. The arms manufacturers and those invested in them, and nobody else. And then, of course, one of my major posters that I did in 1982, and we passed out a lot of them on 42nd Street in New York as we marched to the UN for the first disarmament conference against nuclear weapons. And so these are some of the things I've done, and I've participated in lots of things since then and still am. And this I think I showed you before, but it's one of my very favorite texts from Alan Paton during the apartheid time in South Africa. These are the words of a black minister to a little white boy. And the white boy and his family were going to leave South Africa. And these two were friends with each other. And the black minister said to him, "I have one great fear in my heart, that one day when they are turned to loving, we are turned to hating." So these are some of the things I've tried to do, to use my art. And it's different than these other things, which are really basically about the surrender to God, like this Mary Magdalene reaching up to God, to be open to God. That's our basic tasks as humans, to be surrendered to God and then to serve each other with love. And that's what Hope for the Flowers is about. Don't climb to the top of the pillar over other people. You'll be pushed off then by somebody else right below you. You'll be up there for a short time. It won't work very well. But if you crawl off and decide to go into the cocoon and risk to be a butterfly, then you can have this wonderful life of finding love in everybody you meet and carrying the love of one flower to another. So that's the meaning of Hope for the Flowers. That's what radical sharing is meant to be symbolized in that book. And it's very much of a transformation story and appeal to people to make that spiritual choice to serve and to love and to keep hoping. So that's it for today. And it's a different kind of message, very personal today. And thank you.